All right, boss man. What's up? How's it going?
What's up, buddy? How you been?
Hey, living the American dream, gaining weight. So Ken Smith.
As to be expected.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think I'd be in this chat. So, Ken Smith, I'm gonna go through a little bit about your background, and feel free to correct me if I say anything wrong. So, you were an officer in the Army. I do remember that much. You were in aviation.
Yep.
You flew Blackhawks.
Yep.
And we first met in Korea. K-16. I call it the
That's right.
the best kept secret of Korea because it was a pretty good little spot. When did you get to Korea?
Oh, I went to Korea straight out of flight school, so that would have been. I think I got there in March of 2008.
Yeah, and the reason why I ask is I remember our friendship tenure was pretty short because I think it was only a month or two. Because I remember right shortly after you got there, I re-enlisted to go back to 11 Bravo, and they moved me from K-16 up to Camp Casey.
That's right.
I remember you
I
had a
remember
car
that.
though. You had a vehicle. The vehicle's what for officers and senior enlisted?
Yeah, but I'll have to
Nice.
be full well admit a lot of my soldiers got to drive my vehicle with me in the passenger seat.
Nice. So then after Korea, you went to Germany.
That's right.
And then things got a little bit complicated in Germany, if I remember your background, because there you had the at Fort Benning, and you made some attempts for the special operations. You want to tell me a little bit about what happened when you got to Germany and clarify anything I might have misled the listeners on?
Yeah. So when I got to Germany, I'd already submitted a special forces selection packet and was set to go. And I think I went. The first time I went was supposed to be like February of 2010, something like that. It was really cold. I remember that. But I showed up to Germany. Went straight to I went on deployment. That's right. Because I got to Germany in 2009. Went on deployment, and then I was sent from from deployment back to Fort Bragg for selection. I didn't make it. I tore the meniscus in my left knee. Couldn't walk fast enough to get through the land nav course. Failed.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went back to my unit, deployed. My unit was still deployed. I went back to the unit in Iraq, and then upon completion of my tour, I went back to Germany, and I'd already had orders to go back to selection, but they wanted me to go to the captain's career course down at Fort Benning prior to. So I failed selection in February of 2010, and then went back again in like March of 2011. So I was in Germany, went on deployment, went to selection, came back from selection to deployment, then went to Fort Benning to do the captain's career course there, and then also went to selection again there. Got hurt second time, took a really nasty fall, which ended up getting me 50% disabled, and I damn near broke my lower back.
Mm-hmm.
But after selection, I was still stationed at Fort Benning for the career course, and didn't have orders to a follow-on units. But somebody, I still to this day don't know who, put in a by name request for me to go to 5th Group and serve as the aviation officer over at the 4th Battalion.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and packed up my stuff at Fort Benning and reported immediately back to 5th Group, which was great for me because, one, I wanted to work in a special forces battalion or a special forces unit, and then also being from Tennessee, it was just kind of it was a win-win for me. So I went there, and I got to 5th Group in like August or September of 2011, and bought a house. Didn't even unpack my gear. Forward deployed because my battalion had already deployed, and so they had requested me to follow on. So I went as soon as I got my stuff in my house, locked the doors, packed my bags, and went back to Iraq with 4th Battalion, 5th Group, and then I spent the next 3 years, well, the remainder of 2011 up to July of 2013, serving as the battalion aviation officer for 4th Battalion, and then I got out and started contracting.
Nice. So you alluded to, your military career. Then, well, I mean, you pretty much just told me your military career, but in previous conversations, you said after you got out, you had some struggles, gaining employment. And I feel this is unique because there's that misconception. And I remember hearing this misconception, and I'll allude to it or whatever here in a second. But you'll have no problem get a job when you get out because you're going to be a veteran. And I remember it's kind of funny to laugh at now because I remember all the people saying that were people who had never been out. So I'm like, are you just making those assumptions? Because at the time, I didn't keep contact with a lot of the people that get out before me. So I didn't have any statistics or any data off of, how their employment search was. But so again, and I think it's important that we hit on the misconception that a veteran is going to have no issues getting a job when they get out, because I saw some of that. I did see, we've got all these jobs. We would love to hire veterans, but there were things that I weren't interested in. Things like, being a truck driver, or a lot of people were hiring. I think it was Patterson for oil, and then people that were repairing the large wind fans, windmills. I don't know what the hell you call those. Wind turbines. I'm having a freeze right now. But so, and speak to, because someone who, so you had an officer, so you already had the education, you had the leadership, it sounded like you had a pretty decent resume. So talk to me about your struggles, because it's going to be good to hear from just, grunts that I've already spoken to someone who just thrown into leadership position, that's how the military does things for officers. So talk to me a little bit about your struggles when you got out.
So after I got out, I took my terminal leave. I had 90 days of leave. I took my terminal leave and I drove to Chicago and Austin. I went all over the country going to these job fairs, and three things became very, very apparent to me. One, the military career or job fairs, they're kind of, I don't know why they bring in so many low-paying employers like the CDL jobs and the bank. You want to be a bank teller. Like, there's not a lot in my personal experience. I haven't really found a whole lot of worth for the military career fairs. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be everyone's experience, because there are jobs available if somebody wants to be a bank teller or a CDL, or there's a lot of contracting companies that go up there. I mean, even the CIA and the FBI and all of those guys show up. So I mean, there are positions out there, but when I would go through and, like, for the CIA as an example, I'm like, hey, and I have a pretty dense resume. I mean, that sounds cocky, but I've worked really hard to make it that way. I go over to them and try to strike up a conversation. They're like, are you a 18 Fox or a 13 Fox? I'm like, no. Well, then I don't want to talk to you. Like, well, why are you here? You haven't even looked at maybe there's something else. Maybe the fact that I'm a pilot. Maybe I can fly, I can fly drones. I can fly helicopters. I mean, I'm sure there's other positions besides Intel analyst out there for you. Nope, don't care. And so, I was able to, and I actually got picked up recruited by the FBI the same way, because they heard that conversation with the CIA, and so they took my resume. But I didn't, other than that one. I mean, I'd probably say 100. I'd say there's on average, 60 employers at these career fairs, and I went to probably 5 for the military. I got one application successfully dropped for a job that paid over $45,000-$50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get a whole lot of value out of them. And then I would go to these career fairs up in Chicago and down in Austin, like I said, and a lot of the people that were there, they were like, oh, we sell mobile homes, or, oh, we're a startup beer company. I'm like, well, I'm not going to make any money working for a startup, and I'm also not going to sell mobile homes out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Like, like I'm sure that there's a lot of mobile homes sold in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's just not my particular career field of choice.
Yeah.
And so, there was just a lot of, and I think a lot of these employers get, tax kickbacks and write-offs from going and doing these things. And they use it as an opportunity to network amongst themselves rather than to actually hire hire veterans. And then the other thing is that, every security guard company out there loves to hire veterans, because they get millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of trained individuals, or individuals with all these millions of dollars worth of training, and they can pay them $15-$16 an hour to work the night shift at the Quickie Loop or wherever.
Yep.
And, So of course they want to hire us. But then when you look at people like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, which JP Morgan is actually really good about hiring veterans, but all of these companies that, where you can actually make a decent, solid income, they want 15 years of experience in a very niche field like
Yep.
financial advisory. It's like, I mean, I just did 8 years in the army, and I'm coming out. Like, you can train me to do this stuff. I mean, I'm happy to start at the bottom at 75, 80,000. Because that's, and like JP Morgan, that's about what their entry level salary is around 75 to 80. But they don't want you because you don't have the experience.
Yep.
Thank you for your service. Next. And
Yep.
so, it was really difficult to see. And again, like, I come out of college, I had a bachelor's degree. At the age of 24, I had 140 dudes working for me. I had millions of dollars worth of equipment under my belt. I was coordinating international logistics and supply chain routes. And on top of all of that, I was individually managing all of these people, their qualifications, their medical records, their health, their welfare, all of this different stuff. But the main thing that I found, and this is one of the most infuriating things that I heard during an interview, was, we don't want to have to hire someone who has to be given orders. We want to hire someone who can take initiative and knows what to do. And it really upset me. So I completely blew the interview. Because I knew they weren't going to call me back. I asked the two guys that were sitting there, "Hey, how many guys do you have working for you?" I was like, "Well, I've got 16. The other guy was like, "Well, I've got 12. And this was at a very large and well-known tire company in America. I said, "So the two of you together have 28 people working for you?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, at the age of 24, I had 144. So, maybe that's worth something." And there again, they're like, "We'll call you." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, thanks. Where's the door?" So I don't think the struggle, I mean, it's definitely easier for officers to get a job than would it the E2 or E3 or E4 that got out after 2 or 3 years. But I don't think the struggle is just among the junior enlisted. So after I got out, I went ahead and pursued my MBA. I got my PMP and all that. And here I am still working as a government contractor overseas. And in addition to all of the other stuff that I did in the military and all the management experience I now have the 3 concentration masters of business. I have the PMP, speak foreign languages, all this stuff. And people are still like, "Well, you just don't have the experience." I'm like, come on, man, like, give us a break.
Yeah.
So
some of the things you said, and I saw a lot of that too. And so some people would argue, yeah, you're going to get out and you're going to get a job that makes $15, $16 an hour, but you have to start somewhere. And I understand that. It's just that, me, when I got out, I was almost at 11 years. Most of that time was leadership. I'm obviously, I was making a good amount of money, because even though I was almost at 11, I did some guard time, so I was getting paid for 15. I understand, there is a little bit of pride and what is said, but also what people don't realize about the civilian sector is, maybe you are moved to the top of a pile being military, but it's not going to be the only pile, because people still want the certain skills. Doesn't matter what skills you have, they still want certain skills that we may or may not have. And when it comes down to it, they want to work with someone they want to work with. So I'm gonna throw this question at you, because I've struggled with it, and from what I hear, a lot of people struggle with it. Maybe you just didn't articulate your experiences, and you didn't translate your resume and your military experience to civilian. Because I know I did that. Like, the military that I was in taught humility. Like, I never went into an interview and be like, "How are you with leadership?" I was like, "Oh, I'm pretty good." I had 8 soldiers, and I was in charge of keeping them alive and training and stuff. But that was like humble. I could have been like, "Oh, well, I was in a foreign country. I had to handle logistics between, a country that didn't speak my language. I don't speak their language, where their culture is completely different. I wasn't in charge of like $5-6 million, or I was in charge. I just didn't articulate it very well. So do you think maybe that played a little bit in that, or do you feel that you did a good job articulating your experiences to stuff that translated in the civilian world?
I would say that a lot of people struggle with that. I don't think that was necessarily one of my issues, because every time somebody would ask me a question, I would give them the military answer. Like, like what you just said, you know, and like, oh, I did all this, 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 and this. And then I would try to relate it to, you know, how their
Okay.
company performs. Like, oh, we'll just use the tire company as an example. Like, oh, okay, so, you know, I could, you know, coordinated all of these aircraft parts moving between countries and on a cyclical schedule. So an example, like if you took those skills and put them to your company, you know, I would be able to effectively establish your trigger points for when you were running, before you started running low on inventory. I would be able to interpret and predict that and have your inventory restocked as it was hitting that trigger point.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, I think I feel like I did a pretty good job of like giving examples of how I could function in those job roles. But I think another part of my problem is and was um, is that the military indoctrinates you. Like it makes you a very specific way. Like they don't train us to be soft men and women.
Mhm.
And so when you walk into a room with your chest out and your chin up, and you know when you grip someone's hand, and shake their hand, you look them in the eye, like there's a little bit of an intimidation factor there. And I'm not saying that I didn't get hired because I'm intimidating. What I'm saying is like people see that bold personality come out, and they're like, well, this guy, I just don't know.
Yeah.
And so they you know, and they associate that veteran status with a degree of what's the I'm just going to say it. They think we're mostly crazy. And so when
Yep.
you look somebody in the eye and you grip their hand real tight and you're like, yeah, man, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. And you give them that bold personality. It kind of, it puts a lot of people who haven't served back on their heels because they're not used to that dominance.
Yep.
So I think it's hard, and it's hard to play that down because you get so heavily indoctrinated to it that
Mhm.
anything other than that is outside of your comfort zone. And you trying to not act like yourself makes you seem awkward.
Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely bring up a lot of good points, and I could talk all day about how the military should better prepare you for life afterwards. But to stay on topic, and I think there's a huge gap because a lot of civilians only know anything about the military from what they see on the news and what they see in movies. People associate PTSD, which is something I want to cover, in later topics, not on this call, but in life. PTSD is, you have this old crusty veteran, or angry disgruntled veteran. He hears a bang, all of a sudden he's under the table with a bowl on his head, saying, "Where's Charlie? Charlie's in the weeds." You know what I mean? And so they
Yeah.
don't understand PTSD. But also, like you said, is they see these drill sergeants on TV. They see people taking orders and not being able to execute, robots, drones. What they don't understand is there is, I'd say, that is a good portion of the lower enlisted's life, but everyone's given initiative. Everyone's taught to take initiative. I mean, and that's what they don't understand is at our level. I was a E6 squad leader. I did some platoon sergeant time very briefly. You being obviously a leader, a PL and above, is what they don't understand is there's a lot of time we're just given the mission, and we know what parameters we can work in, but we have to come up with how to solve that. So a lot of the time, as you said earlier, and I wrote it down because I like it, we're given a little but are expected to do a lot, and they don't understand that. So there's that gap. There needs to be more education. The company I work for is actually working on that, which is fantastic. But so yeah, speak to a little bit more about that. Is because you said it and I loved it. I wrote it down. We are given a little. You're expected to do a lot, and why civilians don't see that.
So they're used to a very specific way of conducting business, and a lot of people don't understand this, or don't know this. But as I was getting my MBA, I realized that the civilian business community, they model how they conduct themselves, whether it's be vertical integrations or organizational charts, horizontal nestings. They get a lot of their doctrine from the military, and they don't even realize it. And so when you go in and as I was saying, like give me a little and I can do a lot. They're not used to people who can. And I don't want to, make that a blanket statement to sound like civilians are somehow less capable, because that's absolutely unequivocally untrue. But all I need is, what do you want it to look like when it's finished? When do you want it finished? And what tools do I have at my disposal? And that's
Mhm.
really all I need. Just tell me what you want and when you want it, and I'll make it happen.
Yep.
But in the civilian sector, they want to tell you what it's supposed to look like at the end state. Here's the tools you have available. This is when you have to have it done. These are your critical milestones. This is when you have to hit your critical milestone. These are the contacts you have to use. Oh, when you send, when you try to do this, you can't just go, pour a slab of concrete to make something happen. You got to send that out for bid, and you got to get 3 separate bids, and then you got to choose the cheapest of the 3 bids. Oh, and by the way, if you're going to use a list of contractors from which to get bids, this is the list you have to use. And so they don't give you the ability to be creative as not just as a leader, but as a follower as well. And so I think we as veterans have a hard time dealing with that, because for us, like if I hit a hiccup in the plan, it's not inherent to my nature to go, hey boss, this is what happened. Sorry, but how do you suggest I fix this? No, I hit a hiccup in the plan. I'll fix it. And then that's a problem, because that's not how the boss would have done it, or that's not how he would have wanted it to be done.
Yep.
And so there's a degree of rigidity in the civilian sector as far as how they conduct business and how they want their employees to conduct business. And then conversely, with us, the veterans, we struggle with, I won't say asking for help, but like going to because in the military, like if you're given a task and you have to keep going and asking for input and questions, it makes you look bad. But in the civilian sector, that's kind of what they want you to do. They want you to come to them like, oh, hey, this contractor didn't show. He's 6 hours late for today's delivery. How do you want me to do? If it were me, I wouldn't care. Like, well, is it still going to be here on time? Is it still going to be delivered when I said it was going to be? Yeah, I don't care. Leave it alone. But that's just not how civilian sector operates.
Yeah. Okay, so you made it to El Capitan in the Army. You got out and you got your MBA, and these are just some notes here. So correct me if I'm wrong, but so you got your MBA in logistics, data analytics, and entrepreneurism.
Yep.
So and yes. So you started your own security company, which a lot of people don't know, and they're about to know, is that you're currently overseas doing that right now in an undisclosed location. But so you also have the food boat, and I throw up air quotes because you can talk more to that. And then you have your CBD bath products. You're currently working on starting your own orchard, and you have the CBD food truck. And
yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, I got a few irons in the fire.
The last part of this conversation is I wanted to be on CBD, hemp, THC. The conversation we had a few days ago. I want to talk to that. So, but before we get to that and focus on the CBD and how it can help veterans and why CBD and stuff like that, talk to me about some of the entrepreneurial stuff that you've been doing since you've been out.
All right. So the first thing is my business partner and I. His name's Ryan Ingram. He's also a veteran. He got his MBA over in Durham, England, and he and I met in Germany. Super good dude. But we kind of connected here a few years back and said that we wanted to when the domestic, when I say domestic, I mean the continental United States kind of had the THC marijuana boom. We wanted to. We noticed there was a big gap in the community, and it's like this with any business community that makes or produces any sort of tangible product. Is you have people that know the product really well, and then you have people that know the business really well, and there's really no bridge between the two. And as it is with hemp, cannabis, marijuana, the people who are really good at growing cannabis, and the people who are really good at the logistics, supply chain, and the business side of it, that there's a lot of tension in there. And so the community was, not so much now, but it was suffering because you had a lot of independent growers who had a really good product, but they were just wholesaling it. So what he and I had decided we wanted to do was to take and start a consultation company to help these companies become vertically integrated. And for those who don't know what vertical integration is, it's having the ability to make and produce your own product, manufacture it, market it, and sell it without anybody else touching it outside of your company. So Walmart is not a good example of vertical integration. Walmart is just a downstream retailer for a lot of different companies. And so a florist might be a good example for vertical integration. Florists have, pretty good margins compared to Walmart. Walmart only has like a 2% margin on their overall sales. But a florist who grows their own flowers and then takes it over to their shop and sells it, well, they make 100% of their money, after their cost of goods and overhead and all of that stuff. That their money comes back to them. So we tried to help some of these companies. We did some research and we found some young startup cultivators, growers, and we called them up and said, "Oh, hey, let's work with you. Let us work with you, and we'll help you build your organization to where you are more stable and you're vertically integrated." And they were so bad at they were just so bad at business. They were like, "Well, what do you bring into the table? Like, what's your buy-in?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm making you money. I'm not buying into anything. You're going to be paying me, dude." And they were just so bad at it. And so, and this went on like probably 8 or 10 different cultivators. And finally, we were just like, why don't we just do our own thing? So because our company is based out of Nashville, Tennessee, obviously it's not a marijuana or THC legal state. We had to do CBDs, which cool, great, wonderful. We like that. We like that market better. It's a much more broad market, and it's 50 state legal. So we started. What we started was a drop ship website, and so the next thing we did was we reached out to a bunch of hemp companies, because cannabis companies. I don't want to say hemp. We reached out to a bunch of cannabis companies, and we asked them about their CBD products, and that if they would allow us to list their products on our website, and that they would fulfill our orders for us in exchange for shipping and like a $2 or $3 fee per order. They said, yeah. So we did that, and we started doing the marketing. We became a marketing machine, and we had enough orders come in. We made up quite a bit of money, and was able to buy a bunch of raw goods and do some research and development, and come up with some test products with salves and bath bombs and gummies and stuff like that. And we ended up with five different types of CBD bath bombs. We were the first company to have a 50 milligram bath bomb on the market. And we took them to a small craft fair down in southern Middle Tennessee called the Bell Buckle Craft Fair. It's also the home of the RC Cola and Moon Pie Festival. So a very conservative community. And we had probably 150
moon pies.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's a very conservative community, but we had like 150, 200 of these bath bombs made up, and we sold every single one of them. And we were like, man, so we left early, went home, made a whole bunch more, came back the second day and sold out again. And so we were like, okay, we've got a thing here. We took the money that we made off of that. We made a bunch more product, made a bunch of salves. And we were also the first company to have a 500 milligram CBD salve that was affordable. We sell ours for 55, and I think the going rate's anywhere between 80 to 100, or it was at the time. But we took the money that we made, and we bought a food truck, put a nice wrap on it. And so now all we sell out of it is brownies, gummy worms, gummy bears, and paninis, and we sell slushies and teas that are all infused with CBD. And as expected in Tennessee, like, you're going to get some pushback. People are like, no, you can't have that here. Get out of here. We don't take too kind to your kind. Get out of here. And but then on the other hand, you have people that are like, oh my God, can you come cater my kid's birthday party? And I'm like, no, I can't cater your kid's birthday party, but I'm happy to cater your birthday party, right? Yeah. And so you get all different types. But we've done really well with the food truck, and here a few weeks back, I had an opportunity to buy a boat, and so I did. And it's just a 1988 270 Sea Ray Sundancer, and but it's a cabin cruiser, and you can put 10 or 15 people on it. 15 probably as most as you could get on it. But last summer when I was out on the lake, I was out there with my friends. I was like, man, I'm absolutely starving. I'm like, well, we got potato chips, and we got and it was all just bullshit vending machine food. So I decided that this summer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that Sea Ray, and I'm going to put a blender and a panini press on it, and I'm going to take it out on the lake, and I'm going to park it in Party Cove, and I'm going to take donations and sell paninis and slushies with CBD in them. Yeah. And and then I'm also that boat is going to have a dual purpose, because during the day I'll take and run it as a food boat, But then I've also contracted with a company called JP Events Inc. And they host bachelorette parties, or they plan bachelorette parties. So I put my company on their list of services provided so that I can host bachelorette parties on my boat.
Yep.
So I'm pretty excited about that. And then also I have my family owns 14 acres of farmland down in southern Middle Tennessee, and we had horses and goats and all other sorts of stuff on it for the better part of 30 years. And we just, my parents decided that it was keeping up with the animals was too much for them, and they wanted to do something different. So they got rid of all of the goats and they sold all the horses. And I pulled out my Excel spreadsheet and worked some numbers up, and found out I can put about 3,000 trees on it. And we just finished our spring summer plant, and we've got 7 different types of seven different types of white and yellow peaches on it. We just planted 300 blueberry bushes. We're going to have blackberries. We're going to have blackberries, muscadine grapes, apples, and then other very small things. But we're actually going to try to take and build a Connex, do like a Connex housing unit on it, and turn it into a retail space so that we can actually have an FDA kitchen to make our own preserves and jams and jellies and fruit pies and stuff like that, and host weddings and small birthday parties and stuff like that on it. So I've got a lot of different irons in the fire. None of these ventures have really just set me way back. So for the listeners who are like, man, this guy's he's got a lot of money to start all these companies. Not really. Like, it costs $350 to start a company. I mean, and to buy a food truck, it cost me $20,000, which you can get a loan for.
Yep.
Buy the boat. Honestly, the boat only cost me like $5,500, and I put $4,000 worth of work into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of that money I made just working off my security company here overseas.
Yeah.
So I mean, my money cycles through itself. I use my money to make money, and as any millionaire, which I am not, by the way, any millionaire will tell you, you got to have multiple streams of revenue. And so I started working for myself. I still like to have stable income, but building these businesses have provided me an opportunity that in the event my security company or my security contract goes away, I can jump in the food truck and go make a couple $300 a day. Jump on the boat and go host a bachelorette party for $400 or $500 a day, or go sell slushies for two. There's ways to make money out there. You just got to really be creative with it, and be smart with how you. I won't say invest your money. It is an investment, but I'm going to say utilize. You got to be smart with how you utilize your money.
Yeah. So there's a word that you use several times, and I don't know what it means. So if you could tell me, it sounds like an industry name, but salve, an industry word, salve. You said 15% salve. What is salve?
So I say salve. Some people say salves, SALVE. It's just like a topical cream, topical rub. It's however you want.
Using that lingo over there.
BioFreeze would be a salve to me.
So you already answered my question, why CBD, but and I told you this last time we talked, that I am ignorant to the whole topic, the whole conversation of CBD, hemp, THC. To me, it all sounds like marijuana, smoking weed, potheads. But that is obviously not the case. So
no.
How is CBD different from hemp and THC?
Okay, so let's do a quick lesson in cannabis. So if you try to picture this, at the very top of the pyramid, you have cannabis. All CBD, all THC, marijuana, weed, devil's lettuce, whatever you want to call it, it all falls under cannabis. Whatever you want to call it, it's all cannabis. But there's two different types of cannabis. You have species 1 and species 2. Species 1 is the CBD hemp and industrial hemp. Species 2, that is going to be your marijuana, and it's going to have higher contents of THC. CBD, to be considered domestically legal across the United States, it has to have less than 0.3% THC. Industrial hemp has between 0.3 and 1.5 and 3% THC. So still very, 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 very little THC, but still cannabis, right?
Yep.
Whereas marijuana, on the other hand, will have a significantly higher content of THC and traditionally lower content of CBD.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so obviously this is going to pertain to everyone, but because this is a veteran active duty podcast, should veterans use CBD and why?
Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of a legal gray area here with what I say. So
Yep.
I just need to preface this with everything that I am about to tell you is strictly the sole personal opinion of myself, Kenneth Smith, and not Sunshine Solutions LLC or Veteran Vibe CBD or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So should veterans use CBD? Yes, but comma not to the detriment of their job. Um, there are a lot of employers out there who still lack the understanding and the social knowledge and education of what, and most people are like you, like, whatever, CBD is cannabis is weed. It's we're all potheads and da 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 da. A lot of people don't have that understanding. So one of our goals is to create some education around what it all is. But as far as like veterans using it, I'd say that, yeah, I mean, I say almost everybody could benefit from it in some capacity because it's a good anti-inflammatory. It's good for sleeplessness. It's good for Crohn's disease. It's good for migraines. It's good for if you hate your boss. It's good for if have anxiety. There's just so many different things that you could apply it to. Um, yeah, I think, and it's just generally good for you. Now, I think everybody should use CBD. Do I think everyone should use THC? No.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone who wants to use cannabis, they want to use THC because it's you get there's an illicit feeling to it. You can get the high. You get it has a variety of effects on you, whether you're an indica person or a sativa person or a high CBD, low THC, whatever your preference is. I mean, there's so many different strains out there now that you can. I can't even start to go down that rabbit hole. But I
Yep.
don't think everyone should use THC. I do think there are some people, like people who suffer from seizures and severe PTSD. I think they should be using THC, or like, and I don't mean like, oh, sometimes I have a hard time going to sleep, insomnia. There are people who like have a clinical diagnosis for insomnia that I think they should use high powered marijuana like sour diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but by and large, everyone else in the world could probably benefit from CBD in some capacity.
Yep.
You won't get high on it. I do have to say that the chances of you failing a drug test are low, but they are there. It's kind of like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. He's like, so you're 1 in a million, but you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance you could. So I have to put that out there that if you do use CBD, just be cognizant that, when you do the drug test, they are testing for THC, and
Yep.
CBD strains do have THC in them, albeit very little.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and for the people who have like anxiety and things like that, I recommend those people smoke it as an inhalant. Like whether you're a proponent of vape pens or not, that is
Mm-hmm.
a method.
Yep.
It gets into your bloodstream significantly faster through the capsules in your lungs. People who have Crohn's disease or just chronic anxiety, I recommend edibles. Because I say I recommend anxiety for smoking or smoking for anxiety because it's quick for the acute relaxation. But if you're trying to prevent anxiety, take an edible because it's more your digestive tract. It takes it longer to process through your kidney and livers and your endocannabinoid systems and whatever
Yep.
science. But then for other people who have like bad backs and knees and shoulders and wrists and I don't know, maybe you jumped out of an airplane once or twice in your life and took a nasty, you didn't feet and knees together the way you should have, and you got a sore ankle, use a
Mm-hmm.
topical. Then
Okay.
those people are out there too. I thought I don't think there's anybody who can't benefit from it in some capacity. Yes, to drag that answer out.
No. Good explanation. So to be clear, you cannot get high on CBD.
No.
So even if I treat it like O'Doul's on deployment and I have 40 gummies, I'm not going to feel any kind of high from that.
Let me put it to you this way. If you achieve, so some people do get a extremely relaxed feeling. So when you say get high,
Yep.
I do not equate relaxation and a sense of being calm with getting high. Some people would tell you like, oh yeah, I get high on CBD. Well, they're not saying that they're getting high. They're just saying they feel the effects of it powerfully. When someone says get high to me, I equate that to mean the illicit feeling that someone gets from smoking THC, to where you stand up and you forget how to walk and your knees are shaking, or all you want to do is sit there and sleep on your couch. Like that's when someone says get high, that has a very specific meaning to me. And I have used CBD a lot, and I have never once felt any sort of illicit response, nor have I ever had a testimonial of anybody who had an illicit response from it. So for me to say as a catch-all, no, you can't get high on CBD. That's kind of silly. But I will say that what I would call getting high on CBD versus what getting high actually means to me, I would say no. Traditionally, no, you will not get high on CBD.
Got you. Well, boss, I appreciate you giving us insight to your struggles. With employment, it really speaks to I wouldn't say myth, but the not necessarily factual statement of you'll have no problems getting a job. You're a veteran. Because that's, again, I've seen struggles when I got out. I know a lot of other veterans that have, so it's good to get that word out there, and hopefully more people, while they're on active duty, will open their ears to that statement that is not necessarily true. And again, you definitely taught me a little bit about CBD, well, a lot of bit about CBD, hemp, and THC, and the differences, and why should anyone use it, not necessarily veterans, but, I do speak to the veteran and active duty community. Again, man, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know that you're currently overseas, so so you're 8 hours ahead.
From East Coast time, let's see, it's 7 hours from East Coast time.
Got you.
But yeah, just before we hop off here, I want to say real quick, for those people who have questions about the transition or how to start a business, if they have any questions whatsoever, they can reach out to me at operations@sunshinesolutionscbd.com, and that's solutions with an S, operations@sunshinesolutionscbd.com. Our website is sunshinesolutionscbd.com. And then to check out our food truck, that's veteranvibecbd.com. And if you have any listeners out in Anaheim, I'm a minority owner of a company out there. This little girl named Sammy D, she's really big into the holistic juicing community. And she's got a website that just went up called sammydsjuices.com. So, but again, like if anybody has any questions or about anything in general, like I'm super into helping young entrepreneurs, and I'm always here for the veteran community. So if there's any questions out there floating around that I haven't touched on, whether it be about business or cannabis or anything like that, just reach out. And if I don't have the answer, I'll do my best to try to find it for you.
Awesome. Anaheim, where's Anaheim? Is it Tennessee as well? California. Yeah, see, I don't even, Anaheim, Florida, Anaheim, Alabama. So I'll connect with you after this so I can get all those links so we can put them on Facebook, so that way people can just click on them and visit them if they want. But again, man, I appreciate your time, and stay safe over there.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
All right, boss man. You be good, and I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Later.